So today we're going to talk about how to put the contra together, how to take it apart, and how to carry it, because those are the most dangerous aspects of playing this instrument. That's where most accidents occur, not in the actual rehearsal itself, but in the process between actually playing. So we're going to talk about those things today. It takes two people to put the contra clarinet together. One person working on the lower joint and one person working on the upper joint. And Jen's going to be our lower joint guru. So she's going to show us how to take the lower joint out of the case. And the things to think about while you're putting the contra together is basically to hold wood whenever possible, and to not put pressure on places that will bend. So a lot of these keys are attached to really long rods, and so we want to be careful that we're not pushing on those rods, because if we push down on one of these rods, we're actually bending that rod, and then it's not able to rotate freely, so keys will stick and things. We also have a lot of kind of extra parts hanging outside of the instrument. And we always want to watch out for those and make sure that we're not accidentally bumping some of those. So just keep all of the outside attachments, I guess. Be aware of all of those all the time. So as we're pulling it out of the case, we start from the bottom basically. So the person in charge of the bottom joint will pull it out. And she's going to grab it right here in the center, which you'll see in a second, has this brace between the bell and the wooden part of the lower joint. So she's going to grab it right there at that brace, because that's the strongest part that has the most connections to the wood. And she's going to pull it out from there. And she's going to pull the top out first, watching for those pinky keys, making sure that those pinky keys are free. And once those pinky keys are free, she's grabbing down on the bottom, and she's going to gently lift, or grabbing down on the wood, and she's going to gently lift, watching all of the kind of outstanding parts down here on the bottom. Perfect. She's going to kneel down on the floor and grab it between her knees, because we're going to need that that leverage with the knees, and that also creates some added stability. And it's okay to grab it with your knees down here, because we have, sorry Jen, we have a support guarding that, that pad and that key. And if anything, you know, you can hold down that key and that's not going to bend anything. So this is a this is a totally fine, stable place to have a little bit of pressure and leverage from. Okay, and Jen's holding the case open, because if you notice, it flops. And so I need to have both of my hands free and everything so that I can get this top joint out. So this top joint, we're worried about these side trill keys, but also when we get over to this upper part of this joint, there's a lot of moving little mechanisms up here that's part of the register assembly that we need to be very careful about. So I'm going to guard both of those by actually picking out this part first. I actually reach inside the clarinet with my hand, kind of pull it out, watch that all of that is clear. As soon as that's clear, I'm going to reach over to the top of it, reach over the top of it with my right hand and pull it out. And I'm watching very carefully that all of those pads here and all of these extra little mechanisms, do you see all those extra little keys right here? All of those are safe as I'm pulling it out of the case. Let's do that one more time actually, so that you can see that again, because it's a lot to look at. So I'll let you get to a place where you can see really well. Okay, can you see that? And we have this stuff over on this side. So I'm carefully guiding it down until I feel it rest, then I let that go and carefully guide that in, watching for those trill keys. Okay, so out, getting that free, reaching over here and watching. Can you see directly down, like vertically in there? Try to show you with the camera. Just lifting everything out so nothing is getting caught on the case. Often, these keys right here and right here, mainly when we're putting the instrument in, will actually get caught open And as you put it down, it'll push them back and kind of disengage the mechanism, and then this will jam open and nothing will work. So you want to be careful, especially when putting it away, watching this side of the clarinet. And we'll get to that at the end. Anyway, okay, so I've pulled it out. I'm still holding it right here, and I'm resting it against my body so that there's very little pressure on anything, and primarily on the wooden parts. Because I was holding it here, and I'm kind of slowly going to slide my hand down until I get to that brace part. Now here, I can basically hold this part of the clarinet directly from this brace. Okay, now when we're putting it together, first of all, you want to make sure that everything is greased up ahead of time before you pull anything out of the case. You can grease this joint very, very liberally because this is a big cork, and you'll need it, especially when you're taking it apart. We did that already though. So there are two pads that you have to hold down while you put the thing together. You notice we have actually 4 bridge keys on the Contra. We have 2 there in the front and 2 there in the back. And the 2 that we need to be most careful of are these 2 in the front because they go down below the corresponding bridge keys on the lower joint. So I'm going to hold the clarinet in such a way, fairly awkward, but you'll get used to it, that I'm holding both of those down, and then I am holding the clarinet then with my thumb on the wood. And notice I'm not applying any pressure onto those rods in between. Okay? So we're going to move that just a little bit so that we can get situated. We're going to slowly put it straight down on the upper joint and let it kind of work its own way down. Notice when I put it together, I put it pretty close to the natural alignment of when you're actually going to be playing. And we're just going to rotate it slightly back and forth with a little bit of straight vertical motion down. And Jen is anchoring this lower joint so that the lower joint doesn't rotate. The person working the upper joint does all of the rotation. So Jen is just watching these bridge keys and making sure that they're lowered, and as I get closer, nothing binds. And the person guiding the upper joint is doing all of this very slowly, so if something happens to catch a little bit, you don't actually bend anything. You can correct any you can correct any catches before you actually cause any damage. Okay, so I'm slowly coming close, and about right here we can't see any cork anymore. But we'll just keep pushing down. This is where we start getting really close, and Jen starts watching very carefully with those bridge keys. And I start working my way over so that I can see the bridge keys too. Now when we get to this point, notice I'm a little bit behind, or I guess clockwise from where I need to be for everything to be perfectly aligned. I like to come in from that direction because kind of the force of pushing down has gotten everything ready, so that I just need to push everything over so that it's in alignment. And it's particularly this one right here that we want to watch out for, this furthest one over. See how there's a little bit of play in that, even though I'm pushing down that key all the way. Now I got that so that it's down below on both of them, and I'm just going to move it so that they line up. Is that lined up? From there? Okay. And we're together. If you notice, still we have a little bit of room between the joints, and that's totally fine. It's not going to affect the pitch at all on this instrument because it's so giant. I mean, you have to pull out a lot actually here to make any sort of adjustments in pitch. But this is going to help us later when we go after we've played, so that we don't have the suction between the lower and the upper joints. Because if we have suction, it's going to be really hard to get the two apart again. And you may have experienced this already with your own clarinet, or with bass clarinet. This happens a lot with bass clarinet too. But since contra is bigger, it's even more of a problem. Okay, so we've got it together. Let's talk about, oh, we need to finish, I guess, the extra little bits. So we have the two main points together. but we're missing our mouthpiece, and we also have a peg that we need to put in first. So we're actually going to do the peg first, and Jen is going to pick up the incredibly heavy contra. Notice how she's grabbing, sorry Jen, you're working out today. Notice how she's grabbing here, where it's really secure, and also she's holding on with the wood. She's not putting any pressure on any of the posts or anything. She's going to lift it up, and going to get it in here. You have to loosen the screw a little bit, and then tighten that screw down, and it's resting on the peg now instead of on the bell. And then we go in here and we get our mouthpiece and we put our mouthpiece on. And when we put our mouthpiece on, it's a little bit different than clarinet in that you just put it in vertically. It's at a little bit of an angle, so we actually have to support that angle so that we don't bend this whole metal tube, because it's made of silver and it bends really easily. And then just kind of rotate it on. This, of course, had cork grease on it as well. Alright, so the instrument is together. Let's talk about how to carry it now. Remember, the two strongest parts of the contra are the braces, and so we actually carry it with the braces. I usually carry with my right hand on bottom, but my right hand is dominant, and that's the way that we play it, so it's just kind of a natural tap. Okay, so I'm going to carry it like this. So you need a buddy, your same contra buddy can carry all your music and your water and whatever extra necessities you have. Pretty much you're just in charge of the contra. And as you're carrying it, notice it's taller than I am. It'll be taller than most of you. So make sure you watch when you go through doorways, tilt it so that you're not accidentally whacking it on the doorway. Okay, we built this great little stand for it. And so you can put it on here in rehearsal when you're not actually playing the contra. In the concert, between contra pieces, whatever. But when you put it on the stand, make sure that it's resting primarily on the wood, and that these pinky keys are free. There's space in between the stand and the pinky keys. And if you come over then to the side, you'll notice that it's pushing, it looks like it's pushing on this rod here, and you said, but you're not supposed to do that. It's okay in this case because it's actually pushing right on this post, and the post goes directly into the instrument, so we're not worrying about, see how flexible this rod is? Even just like a tiny, tiny push makes it rotate. So we're just resting it right on that post, and we have some freedom with the pinky keys. So it's going to be very stable right here, just like that. So that's putting it together. Let's talk about taking it apart again. Ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to take it apart the exact opposite, basically, of how we put it together. So I'll carry it over and then pass the lower joint off to Jen. Make sure that she is comfortable and has a good hold on it before I let go, because it's pretty unwieldy and tall. Okay, you got it? Mm-hmm. All right, and I'll have Jen lift it up just a little bit so I can get the peg out. And it's totally okay. She has it resting on her shoulder a little bit, and we rotated it over so that I could get it out. Now I'm going to tighten this screw all the way down again when I take the peg out, because the screw mechanism, if it's not tightened down, it kind of rattles around as you're moving it around, and we actually lose that screw or lose part of that mechanism, and that whole mechanism is about $100. So there's no reason to lose $100, so just tighten that screw and we're in good shape. Okay, so peg, take off the mouthpiece too, should have done that first. But notice how when I'm taking off the mouthpiece, again, I'm supporting right here. To make sure I'm not putting any added pressure on the metal tube. Okay, put the mouthpiece away, and then we take the instrument apart. So I need to hold down those same keys again. Did you catch which ones they were on the first one? So it's the bottom in the front, very, very bottom. And then on the side, it's the one right above the trill keys. And you can figure this out if you forget. You can figure it out by pushing buttons until you get those trill keys to work. The bridge keys to work right here. Okay, so I'm holding those down, and Jen's gonna get it really secure so it doesn't turn at all. And I'm going to slowly twist it. This beginning part is the dangerous part. So I'm gonna slowly twist it and pull it up vertically. And all of the pressure, I'm pulling with my left hand straight up on that brace again. And Jen has it really nicely wedged and held solid so that I'm able to do the spinning. Now you see I'm clear here, and I'm turning, as I'm pulling up, you notice I'm not turning very far because we have these bridge keys over here behind the instrument that can actually get caught as well if we turn too far back. So just keep little side-by-side motions, but otherwise you won't be able to get it out. And keep going until you feel it start to get a little bit lighter, a little bit easier to pull. And then we're going to slow down again because when these two separate, if we're not pulling up slowly and completely vertically, these keys and these keys are in danger of getting whacked. So I'm going to slowly kind of guide it. And the person on the bottom joint can help with this too. When you start seeing a lot of cork or even getting a little bit to the wood, then you know that we're about to come apart. Okay? And at that point, I slow down, and I felt it slight wobble a little bit, which means I'm really close. So I'm just going to very, very carefully let it release. And notice we didn't hit any of those keys on the way away. All right. So we'll put it away basically the same way that we took it out. So top joint first. You're going to have to kind of move around a little bit. I had it held like this before, so I'm grabbing here and rotating it and holding it like that. And when we put it away again, remember we want to watch out for all of these top keys, particularly those, as we put it away. So make sure that those don't hit the sides of the case as we put it in. Okay, that's resting, so I'll pull that hand out and help guide that down, watching out for those keys. Okay, now Jen's going to do the same thing. And she'll put the base of the instrument in first. Beautiful. Till that's resting. Then slowly rotate it down, watching those pinky keys, making sure that they're clear the whole time. And let it just rest there. Good. And it's put away. So we'll zip it up, and make sure you zip it. Sometimes we forget to zip because, you know, it seems like it's, oh, we're done. All the hard part is over. But then when we go to put it back in the locker, we want to make sure that this side that had all the trill keys in it is up. Both of these, the top and bottom of the instrument, it's okay to have pressure on that. It's not going to bend anything or anything like that. So when we put it vertically in the locker, we need to make sure that we put that, I guess as you're facing it, the left side of the case up. The left side of the case will have this little French flag on it. So you know you have the right side if you have the little French flag. So that's the Contra. Good luck. It's a lot of fun and a good challenge to play. So enjoy.